Yes, in section 6.1 of, well, section 1 of chapter 6, what you see here is the introduction of types of trends that you can observe in data. And at this point, I just want to demonstrate here to you how to get the data, excuse me, to get the charts from the data that you have. Um, for example, in the first case of gasoline time series, these are sales in thousands of gallons for weeks 1, 2, etc. through 12. So one simple way you can get a chart is just highlight sales thousands of gallons and then insert a scatter diagram scattered, and let me move it here, and you will get the scatter diagram. I right click on sales so I can delete the legend and make the graph greater, larger. So that is one way you can do it. And on the X variable you have the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, etc. by default, which happens to be also this one's here for the week or time variable. So you don't need to use a time variable. And however, you can use it too. Let me do it that way in a moment. And once you have it like this, you can also click, just left click on the chart and then insert the line graph and graph option, the first one here on the left in the second row. And you will get the exact same chart that you see on your book. You can do the chart in the different ways. For example, you can just without highlighting any data, you can insert and select the scatter diagram, let's say, and you will get a blank scatter diagram. And then you right click on the graph on the chart, then select data. And once you select data, you add here on the legend entries series. Add what? Well, you have the name of the series, which is sales in thousands of gallons. So I just select the title, and then series X values. My X values are the weeks, so 1 through 12. And I click this again, and now select the Y values. I click on this red arrow, and I select the Y variables, and just click OK. OK. You get the same chart. Select, I just deleted the legend to make the chart larger. And again, I can insert a line, and I'll get the graph exactly how it looked like before. Now, another way, you can just insert directly the line, and you'll get in a blank because I didn't specify any data. And then you right click on the chart. Oops. Right click and then select data, and do exactly the same steps I told you before, except that now you don't have as many options of X and Y, but the series name is given. So you select sales and then selects the Y, and that is the Y values, and click OK. And by default, you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the X variable. Alright, so keep in mind that in this last case you just can you have to specify the column only, or for sales, the variable that you're interested in the graph. But the best way to do it, which is it takes more steps, but it's the best way in my opinion, is just insert the scatter, because on the scatter you have the choice. You right click on the graph on the chart and select the data, and you have the option for the series name, the X and the Y values. In case the X values are not 1 through 12 but different values, then you have that option. And let me select again. These are the X values. Now my Y values. You need to know which variable goes on the horizontal, which one's on the vertical. In this case, time is always on the horizontal. So let me right click here. And then after you have it like this, you can insert and go to line and insert the line. All right, so that is what the graph looks like. The main thing is to notice that what kind of pattern do you observe in this data? Well, it goes up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. It doesn't seem to follow any specific pattern. And if you right click on any of these dots and then add a trend line, the trend line by default is linear. That's all we need. Just close. Now you see this black line that shows the trend, and it shows a horizontal trend. So in this case, what we can use is the average value, which is right in the middle of all this variation, as our predictor. And so that the 13th observation here is up to the 12th. So the 13 can be predicted to be simply the average of all these numbers. Now, that is not necessarily the approach we're going to use. I'm just saying that that might be one of them. Okay, but we're going to learn several different averages. Now here we have the gasoline, the same problem that you have here on top up to observation 12. Up to here is the same, but then from 13 you have other observations. So let me just do the same thing we did before. And since most of our problems are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc., so they go in order on time. So let's just use the line directly. So I'm just going to select the variable that I'm interested in, and I'm going to click on line, and I'll get the graph. Except that I want to delete the legend, so I just right-clicked on the legend and deleted it. And if you notice that what we have is a horizontal line up to this point, but then we will have another horizontal line on top because the data shift up, and then it continue the normal variation on top. So we either have two horizontal lines, or we just simply right-click again on one of the dots and then add a trend line, and just select linear, which is automatically done, and then close. And as you may see, this is the line that shows the trend, an overall trend for this data. So to predict term 23 or week 23 to week 24, all we need to know is the equation for that line, which we're going to practice on the following sections, or we're going to find a method to do it. It's very simple. And right on that line, we're going to find the predicted values into the future. We just need to find the equation and substitute the value 23, 24 into the equation, but that is going to be shown in more detail in section 2 and 3, etc. Now we also have another example in the same as section 1 of chapter 6, bicycle sales time series, and again this is 1, 2, 3 through 10, and this is my variable of interest. So I just need to insert, after I highlighted it, I just need to insert a line chart. Right click and delete the legend. And as you may see in this case, this is not going up and down like the other one. This one is actually, it goes up and sometimes down, but overall it tends to go up. And one way of knowing is to right click again, right click on any of the dots, and then add a trend line, and then close. And as you may see, the line is showing that these values overall have a long-term trend upward. So there is an upward trend of the data. So it tends to go up, and the system or the method we're going to use to predict into the future for this case will be to find the equation of that line, and then for observation 11 or 12 here, we just substitute those values into an equation that will yield me the predicted values. Now let me close this one. Now we also have the seasonal case. Notice here we have observations 1 through 20 because we have actually 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 years. And every year we have 4 quarters, 4 quarters, 4 quarters. So in this case, you may need to uh, consider inserting a scatter blank first, then you right click, and on the series name is sales, and the X value, I'm going to select my observations 1 through 20. Notice I'm not selecting 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 because that's not appropriate. And then my Y value will be the sales. So I'll get my, I click OK, and then I'm gonna get rid of the legend. So that is my graph, which will look better if I left click on the chart and then insert my line again, and I get this chart. Well, what do we observe? 1 2 and then 1 2 up and then 3 4 down, 1 2 up and then 3 4 down, 1 2 up and then 3 4 down. So this is definitely the case of seasonal. These are sales of umbrella. So the first quarter, second quarter, the sales increase, and then third and fourth quarter of a year, then the sales of umbrellas will drop. And so that is seasonal. And seasonal data will tend to have a trend, a horizontal trend. If you add a trend line, you're going to see that it tends to have a horizontal trend, which in this case will be a very an inappropriate way of predicting values, because we need to take into account the fact that this is seasonal. So if you're going to predict here the 21st, which is the first quarter of the following year, then that value should be higher than this one. And if you're going to predict the second, then is even higher, including the seasonal effects. But if you don't include the seasonal effects, then all you're going to get is just a straight line here, and that is not appropriate. But we're going to learn that in the coming sections. At this point, you just need to see the trends and how to insert a chart. Now we can try just to insert the line, and we should get the line. But keep in mind that in order to get this, I'm not considering 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. I'm just considering 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So which is the number of observations here, and that is what you actually need in most of these charts. Subsequent or consecutive numbers. And if you notice here, you have 1 2 3 4, 1, then 2 down, 3 and 4 up, then 1 down, 2 down, 3 and 4 up, 1 down, 2 down, 3 and 4 up. But this particular data has seasonal pattern, but it also has an upward trend. If you would right click on any of the dots and then add a trend line, then close, see that there is an upward trend. So in this case, we have two kinds of patterns: the seasonal pattern and also the trend pattern. So in order to make a good prediction for observation 17, 18, etc., we need to consider the seasonal patterns and also the trend patterns, and that we're going to also cover in chapter 6. But that is going to be ahead of this section. At this point, I just wanted to show you how to get the charts and just get used to the different patterns, the different trends.